General Amanda Hayes took another sip of her black coffee, savoring the bitter taste as she watched the sunrise paint streaks of orange across the Colorado sky. The morning ritual in her Pentagon office helped her think, and today she needed that clarity more than ever. The quantum activity sensors had been going crazy since 300 hours, suggesting something massive was about to breach Earth's atmosphere. "General, you need to see this." Captain Rachel Myers burst through the door, her tablet displaying a cascade of readings that made Amanda's coffee turn cold in her stomach. The sky above Washington, D.C. had turned an impossible shade of purple. "Show me the neural pattern analysis," Amanda ordered, setting down her cup. The holographic display sprang to life, showing brainwave patterns that definitely weren't human. She'd seen similar readings before, in the classified files from the Roswell archives. But these were different. These showed pure, unfiltered fear. The purple distortion in the sky crystallized into a shape that defied physics. A ship that looked like liquid mercury had been frozen in mid-splash. It hung there, impossible and beautiful, as every military base across the globe went to high alert. "This is Galactic Consul ZX-427 broadcasting on all frequencies," a voice echoed in every electronic device on Earth. The translation matrix they'd reverse-engineered from the crashed ship in Nevada worked perfectly. "Please, you must listen. There isn't much time." Amanda watched as her quantum scanner revealed more about their unexpected visitor. The aliens' neural patterns showed no deception, only genuine terror, but not of the message they carried, of something else. "The Corax Empire approaches your world," the consul continued, their voice trembling. "They are unstoppable. They have conquered 1,000 worlds. When they arrive, you must surrender immediately. Please, spare your world from devastation. We have seen too many civilizations fall trying to resist." The general's phone buzzed. Text messages from other military leaders around the world confirmed what her gut had already told her. The consul wasn't lying. The Corax were coming. But they were also missing something crucial about Earth. "Consul," Amanda broadcast back, using the protocols they'd developed for exactly this scenario. "We appreciate your warning. Perhaps you'd like to discuss this in person. I can have coffee ready in 5 minutes." The alien's response came after a pause that suggested pure confusion. You wish to have a beverage. Your world faces extinction. And I never face extinction without coffee," Amanda replied, nodding to Captain Myers, who was already implementing the first contact protocol they'd rehearsed countless times. "Besides, I think there are some things about Earth you should know." The consul's ship landed with impossible grace on the Pentagon's lawn, causing significantly less damage than the average military helicopter. As Amanda walked out to meet them, she noticed their bio readings showing increasing confusion, probably because none of the humans were panicking. ZX-427 emerged from their ship looking like a cross between a praying mantis and a silver willow tree. Their crystalline eyes widened at Amanda's calm approach. "I don't understand," they said, their translator converting alien clicks into English. "Your species has barely achieved lunar travel. You should be terrified. Why are your people gathering with recording devices? Why are they smiling?" Amanda gestured to the Pentagon's entrance. "Walk with me, Consul. Let me show you something that might explain." She led them through corridors that were busy but orderly, past personnel who were excited but disciplined. "You see, we've been preparing for this day for quite a while." The consul's neural patterns showed spike after spike of disbelief as they passed holographic displays showing deep space scans, quantum energy readings, and battle simulations. This technology, you couldn't possibly." "Oh, that's just what we let the public see," Amanda said with a smile that made the consul's readings spike again. "Humanity has a saying. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. We've been hoping to meet friendly aliens, but preparing for the alternative. For decades. But how? Why?" Amanda stopped at a window overlooking the city. In the distance, crowds were gathering, not in panic, but in celebration. "Because, Consul, Humanity has never been good at being told what we can't do. Now, about that coffee. And then perhaps you can tell us more about these Orcs. We've been looking forward to testing some new equipment. Dr. Jack Morrison ran his hand along the smooth surface of the quantum core, feeling the slight vibration that indicated dimensional containment was holding steady. Around him, the cavern beneath Cheyenne Mountain hummed with activity as technicians prepared to reveal humanity's best-kept secret. Status report, he called out, watching as holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber. The ancient military facility had been transformed into something that would make science fiction writers jealous. Project Prometheus is at 98% capacity. Lieutenant Sarah Rodriguez responded, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. All 7 reverse-engineered systems are synchronized. We're ready for the demonstration. The Galactic Consul ZX-427 stood at the observation level, their crystalline eyes reflecting the blue glow of the machinery below. General Hayes stood beside them, enjoying what had to be her 5th coffee of the day. You understand, Jack began, addressing their alien guest, that what you're about to see is just the prototype. We've been somewhat limited by having to keep everything secret from the public. He gestured to the massive chamber around them. It's amazing what you can accomplish when you tell everyone you're working on deep space radar telemetry. The console's translator clicked rapidly. These energy readings, they're similar to Korrak's shield technology, but that's impossible. You couldn't have developed this independently. Developed? No, Jack smiled, pressing his palm against the biometric scanner. Reverse engineered. Absolutely. You'd be surprised what humans can learn from studying crashed ships, especially when we've had decades to figure them out. Holographic screens materialized around them, showing similar facilities across the globe. The Chinese quantum fortress beneath the Himalayas, the European Union's underwater installation in the Mediterranean, Russia's Siberian complex, all communicating, all synchronized, all ready. Sleeping Giant Protocol is active worldwide. Colonel Rebecca Winters reported from her station. All stations report ready for full revelation. Permission to proceed. General Hayes nodded, then turned to the consul. You might want to hold on to something. The first time we tested this, it knocked out power to 3 states. Jack initiated the sequence, watching as energy patterns that had taken 30 years to perfect cascaded through the global network. Above them, hidden satellites shifted from stealth mode, revealing their true nature. The console's neural patterns showed pure shock as they recognized the technology. Those are Zephyrian phase shifters, they gasped. Korrak's pulse cannons, Meridian shield generators. You've taken technology from multiple species and made them work together. Humans have always been good at improvising, Jack explained, watching the power readings climb. Give us enough time with any technology, and we'll not only figure it out, we'll find ways to improve it that the original designers never imagined. The facility shook slightly as the planetary defense grid fully activated for the first time. On the main screen, they could see the shimmer of the atmospheric shield, nearly invisible but stronger than anything the Koraks had ever encountered. But the logistics, the consul protested. The resources required. How did you hide this? Colonel Winters laughed. You'd be amazed what humans will ignore if you tell them it's a weather balloon. Besides, all those competing space programs and defense contracts. They were real, just not for the reasons people thought. Final synchronization complete, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced. Project Prometheus is fully operational. Planetary shield at maximum capacity. Quantum weapon systems online. Deep space sensors detecting Korrak's fleet at the edge of the solar system. The console's translator struggled to keep up with their rapid clicks. You've had this capability all along. Why didn't you announce yourselves to the galaxy? Join the Galactic Consul. Jack exchanged glances with General Hayes before responding. Because, Consul, humanity learned long ago that it's better to be underestimated. The Koraks are about to learn that lesson the hard way. Sir, Lieutenant Rodriguez interrupted. Korax advance scouts have breached the Kuiper Belt. Their weapons are hot. General Hayes finished her coffee and smiled. Well then, Dr. Morrison, shall we show our guests what humanity is really capable of? Around the world, humanity's hidden strength emerged from the shadows, ready to demonstrate why Earth was never the helpless planet the galaxy assumed it to be. Major Thomas Cooper stood on the bridge of the EDS Endeavour, watching as the massive Korax flagship tore through space-time like a shark through dark water. The ship's quantum sensors painted a beautiful yet terrifying picture, a vessel 17 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. They're preparing their standard intimidation broadcast, Lieutenant Emily Parker reported from her communication station, playing it on all frequencies, just like the intel from the consul suggested. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing Grand Marshal Vex Thor of the Korax Empire. The alien commander's exoskeleton gleamed with ceremonial markings, each representing a conquered world. Thomas noted with amusement that they'd positioned their camera to make themselves look more imposing. Primitive world. Vex Thor's translated voice boomed across all frequencies. I am Grand Marshal Vex Thor, conqueror of 200 worlds, herald of thee. Pardon the interruption. Thomas cut in smoothly, triggering the broadcast he'd been waiting to deliver. Major Thomas Cooper of Earth's Defense Force. I hate to cut short what I'm sure would be an impressive speech, but I have a simple question. Would you prefer to surrender now or after we demonstrate why Earth has never been successfully invaded? The bridge crew maintained their professional composure, but he could see the subtle smiles. They'd rehearsed this moment for years. Silence stretched for 3 seconds before Vex Thor responded, their translator barely containing their rage. You dare interrupt the Grand Marshal. Your species has barely achieved lunar travel. Your weapons are primitive. Your defenses air. Actually, Thomas interrupted again, enjoying this far too much, about those defenses. He nodded to Lieutenant Parker. Now would be good. The Korax flagship launched their planet cracker weapon, exactly as predicted. The energy beam, capable of shattering continental plates, struck Earth's atmospheric shield. For a moment, the sky lit up with impossible colors as reverse-engineered Korax technology met its original makers. The beam dissipated harmlessly. Did you know, Thomas continued conversationally, that humans have a fascinating history of taking other people's weapons and improving them? We found the flaws in your planet cracker design years ago. Would you like to see our version? Impossible, Vex Thor snarled. You couldn't have. You're lying. This is a deception. Commander Sarah Watson's voice cut in from her position at tactical. Sir, they're repositioning their fleet for a full assault. All weapons charging. Very well, Thomas sighed, though internally he was grinning. This was going exactly as the simulations predicted. Lieutenant Parker, please share our terms for their immediate surrender. Commander Watson, you may deploy the defense grid. Around Earth, hundreds of satellites shed their civilian disguises, revealing weapons that made the Korax fleet's energy signatures fluctuate in what Thomas interpreted as shock. Each satellite incorporated technology from different alien species, combined in ways their original designers never imagined. Sir, Watson reported, they're launching their first wave of fighters. Remember, everyone. Thomas addressed his crew. Stick to the plan. Let's show them why humans spent centuries developing three-dimensional combat doctrine, while everyone else was still thinking in straight lines. The Korax fighters moved in perfect formation, their tactics honed by centuries of successful conquest. They never stood a chance against pilots who had grown up playing video games in 3 dimensions. Major, Lieutenant Parker called out, her voice tight with controlled excitement. You're going to want to see this. The Korax fleet's communication traffic just spiked. They're trying to figure out how we got their technology. Thomas allowed himself a small smile. Send them my compliments, and inform them that this is just our orbital defense grid. If they'd like to see what our actual warships can do, they're welcome to stick around. The Korax response was immediate and profane, their translators struggling to convey the complexity of their confusion and outrage. "Sir," Watson reported, "the consul is requesting permission to transmit to the Korax fleet." "Granted," Thomas nodded. "This should be interesting." 6427's voice carried an emotion the translators couldn't quite capture, something between amusement and awe. "Grand Marshal Vexthor, I try to warn you. Earth doesn't need protection from this war. Perhaps you should consider protecting your fleet from Earth." Lieutenant Jessica Ghost Reeves felt the neural interface of her Chimera fighter sync with her consciousness. The hybrid craft, a masterpiece of human engineering merged with alien tech, responded to her thoughts faster than any physical control could manage. Around her, Shadow Squadron moved into attack formation, their ships appearing to flicker in and out of reality thanks to the reverse-engineered stealth systems. "Shadow Squadron, check in," she commanded, watching the Korax fleet's predictable formation through her quantum sight display. "Remember, just like we practiced. They think in straight lines. We don't." Shadow 2, ready to dance. Shadow 3, systems hot. Shadow 4, waiting for the music. The confirmations continued, each pilot's voice carrying the controlled excitement that came from years of preparation finally paying off. Above them, Admiral Marcus Stone's primary fleet engaged the Korax in what appeared to be a standard confrontation, drawing their attention up and away. "Beginning Operation Waterloo," Jessica announced, triggering the maneuver they'd practiced thousands of times in simulation. Her squadron split into 3 elements, each taking advantage of Earth's gravity well in ways the Korax computers wouldn't predict. No alien race had ever thought to apply 18th-century cavalry tactics to space warfare. "Ghost, we're picking up targeting locks," Shadow 2 reported, his voice steady. "They've spotted us." "Good," Jessica smiled beneath her neural interface. "That means they're looking exactly where we want them to. Execute scatter pattern Delta." The squadron broke apart in what seemed like chaos to outside observers. The Korax computers, programmed with millions of standard combat scenarios, failed to recognize the pattern. It wasn't in any of their databases because it wasn't military in origin. It was based on the movement of a school of fish evading a predator. "Now," Jessica commanded, her consciousness flowing through the neural interface as she led her squadron in an impossible series of maneuvers. They dove through the Korax formation, their hybrid drives leaving trails of quantum disruption that played havoc with alien targeting systems. From his command deck, Admiral Stone watched the engagement through strategic displays. "Remarkable," he mused, garnering a confused look from the Galactic Consul, who had insisted on observing. "They still haven't figured it out." "Figured what out?" Zix-427 asked, their crystalline eyes tracking the battle. "That every human child who's ever played a video game has spent more time thinking about 3-dimensional combat than their entire species." Stone gestured to a tactical display showing Shadow Squadron's attack pattern. "What they see as chaos is actually a complex dance we've been practicing since the first flight simulator." Jessica's voice crackled over the command channel. "Phase 1 complete, Admiral. Their targeting systems are compromised. Ready for Phase 2. You're clear to proceed, Ghost," Stone confirmed. "Show them why we named those fighters after mythological monsters." The Chimera fighters shifted configuration mid-flight, another innovation the Korax hadn't predicted. Plates of metamaterial realigned, changing not just their sensor profile, but their entire energy signature. To the Korax scanners, 12 fighters suddenly became 100 phantom targets. "Their fleet formation is breaking," Tactical reported. "They're responding to multiple phantom threats across a 60-degree arc." Stone nodded in satisfaction. "Deploy the main fleet, standard Trafalgar formation." Jessica watched as Earth's primary battle group emerged from hiding, using maneuvers adapted from ancient naval warfare. The Korax, their rigid battle doctrine failing against human unpredictability, began to fall back into defensive positions. "Ghost to command," she reported, watching her squadron's quantum disruption fields tear through alien shields designed to stop direct attacks, but useless against indirect warfare. "Permission to execute Phase 3. "Granted," Stone replied, turning to the increasingly agitated consul. "You might want to watch this part carefully. It's when they realize why humans are the only species to develop combat doctrine through fighting ourselves." Shadow Squadron reformed, their chimera fighters moving in perfect synchronization. As one, they activated their hybrid drives at full power, creating a cascading quantum wake that rippled through space-time itself. The Corax ships, their sensors already compromised, never saw the real attack coming from the opposite direction. "Checkmate," Jessica whispered as the track closed. Throughout human history, the most dangerous predator had always been other humans. Now the galaxy was learning why. Captain David Wells crouched in the maintenance shaft of the Corax command ship, his stealth suit's biomimetic coating adapting to match the metallic surroundings. The technology, reverse-engineered from studying deep-sea creatures like the octopus and cuttlefish, worked better than any alien cloaking device. Nature, it turned out, had already solved most of the problems the galaxy was still struggling with. "Echo Team, status check," he whispered into his neural comm. The response came back as subtle variations in his peripheral nervous system, another innovation that the Corax couldn't detect. They never thought to look for signals transmitted through artificial synapses. The Corax had intercepted transmissions about Operation Thermopylae and prepared for a defensive stand. Their entire battle strategy now focused on a narrow corridor of space where they expected Earth's main assault. They hadn't bothered to study enough human military history to recognize the name Trojan Horse. "Command, this is Infiltration Team Leader," David vocalized. "We're in position. Beginning Phase 2. Back on the Earth Defense Force command ship, General Hayes watched the operation unfold through quantum-entangled feeds. Beside her, the Galactic Consul's crystalline eyes widened as they finally understood what they were seeing. "Impossible." Zix 427 clicked. "Your soldiers are inside their command ship. The Corax have the most advanced internal defense systems in the galaxy." "Had," Hayes corrected with a slight smile. "They had the most advanced systems, until we figured out how to beat them by studying Earth's ocean life. Turns out, when you evolve on a planet where everything is trying to kill you, you get really good at survival." David's team moved through the Corax ship like ghosts, their movements based on predatory behaviors, refined over millions of years of evolution. Each operative carried a quantum disruptor, built from technology that the Corax themselves had discarded as theoretically interesting, but practically useless. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came over the command channel. "We're picking up increased communications from the Corax fleet. They're starting to realize something." Hayes nodded. "Play it through." The translated messages filled the command center, a cascade of increasingly panicked reports. "Their tactics make no sense. Battle computers cannot predict. Fighting patterns unknown. Request immediate analysis of human historical records." "They're finally doing their homework," Hayes observed. "Too late, of course." The consul moved closer to the tactical display, their translator struggling to keep up with their rapid clicks. "This is why you were so calm when I warned you. You knew something about your species that we didn't." "We knew many things," Hayes replied. "But the most important was this. Humanity is the only known species that developed its technology through warfare with itself. Every other race evolved through cooperation or singular purpose. But humans? We've been practicing for this moment for thousands of years." On the Corax command ship, David's team reached their objective. The alien vessel's central processing core loomed before them, its crystalline structure pulsing with data streams coordinating the entire fleet. "Look at these readings," one of the Corax technicians chittered to another, both unaware of the invisible humans in their midst. "Their ships move like water, like wind. The patterns are organic, chaotic. Because they're based on natural predators," his companion realized. Every tactic they use is drawn from their planet's evolutionary history. How do you fight an enemy that thinks like every predator that ever evolved? David planted the quantum charges, each one containing a virus based on human neural patterns, something no alien system was designed to handle. Charges set. Echo Team, withdraw to extraction points. Command, prepare for system breach in 3, 2, 1. The virus hit the Corax battle network like a fever dream. Their rigid logical systems encountered human consciousness translated into code, carrying with it millennia of combat evolution. Across their fleet, ships began receiving contradictory orders as their command structure tried to adapt to warfare styles it had never imagined. It worked, Hayes announced, watching the Corax fleet's formation dissolve into chaos. Send the signal to all Earth forces. Execute Operation Checkmate. The consul's translator fell silent for a long moment before managing to convey their response. You didn't need protection from the Corax. They needed protection from you. Director Emma Davidson stood before the holographic war table in Earth's Psychological Warfare Division, watching as her carefully orchestrated campaign unfolded across space. Years of studying alien psychology had led to this moment. The Corax's rigid hierarchical structure was about to become their greatest weakness. Launch Protocol Butterfly, she commanded, her voice steady as her team initiated the most ambitious psychological operation in human history. Let's show them why Sun Tzu said the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Across the battlefield, quantum entanglement bombs designed by Dr. Michael Harrison detonated in precise patterns. Unlike conventional weapons, these devices didn't cause physical damage. Instead, they created cascading waves of quantum uncertainty that played havoc with the Corax's highly ordered minds. Status report, Emma called out, watching as the patterns spread across her display. The Corax fleet's command structure is showing signs of strain. Lieutenant James Chen reported from his station. Their neural networks are struggling to process the uncertainty patterns. It's like introducing chaos into a perfectly ordered system. Commander James' Crazy Horse Walker's voice crackled over the command channel. Strike Group Delta is in position. Beginning random attack pattern Alpha. Emma smiled. There was nothing random about it. The attacks followed a complex chess strategy played out across four-dimensional space. But to the Corax battle computers, trained to recognize standard military doctrines, it appeared to be complete chaos. Their flagship is launching a counter-offensive, Chen announced. They're attempting to establish a new command and control network. Perfect, Emma nodded. Deploy the mimetic warfare packages. Across every frequency the Corax used, Earth's message began to spread. Not threats or demands, but simple questions designed to exploit the rigid thought patterns of their hierarchy. Why do your leaders send you to die? Have you noticed your commanders always survive? When was the last time the Empire admitted defeat? Dr. Harrison's voice came through on a private channel. Director, the quantum disruption is reaching critical mass. Their fleet's coordination is falling apart. On the main display, Emma watched as the Corax fleet's perfect formation began to crack. Ships moved out of position as commanders questioned orders, hesitated in the face of uncertainty, and struggled with concepts their rigid training had never prepared them for. Ma'am, Chen reported, excitement creeping into his voice. We're detecting widespread communication breakdown in their command structure. The quantum uncertainty is causing cascading failures in their decision-making protocols. Commander Walker's fleet pressed the advantage, each attack seeming random, but actually part of a greater strategy. The Corax computers, unable to process human improvisation, began producing contradictory tactical analyses. Their leadership structure is fracturing, Emma observed. Initiate Phase 2 of the psychological offensive. New messages began broadcasting, each one carefully crafted to exploit the growing uncertainty. Your empire calls itself eternal, but Earth has survived the rise and fall of countless empires. We learned warfare by fighting ourselves for millennia. How many wars has your species survived? Did you ever wonder why we were so happy to see your fleet arrive? The Galactic Consul, watching from the observation deck, clicked rapidly in astonishment. You're not just fighting their ships. You're fighting their entire worldview. The strongest weapon humans have ever developed, Emma replied, is doubt. We've had thousands of years of practice using it against ourselves. On the tactical display, the Corax fleet's formation continued to deteriorate. Ships began breaking ranks, their commanders no longer certain of their orders or their mission. The perfectly ordered hierarchy that had conquered 1,000 worlds was unraveling in the face of humanity's most potent weapon, psychological warfare. Director, Chen called out, the enemy flagship is showing signs of command structure collapse. Their neural network is failing under the quantum uncertainty load. Emma nodded, satisfaction evident in her expression. Send the final message. The one we prepared specially for their leadership. Across the battlefield, the last piece of Earth's psychological offensive deployed. A simple transmission showing the complete history of human warfare, revealing to the Corax exactly what they had stumbled into. A species that had spent its entire existence preparing for this moment. Colonel Sarah Murphy watched from the bridge of the EDS Excalibur as her history's greatest hit strategy unfolded across the battlefield. The Corax fleet, already destabilized by Earth's psychological warfare, now faced something even more terrifying. Human military history reimagined for space combat. Alexander Formation. Execute flanking maneuver, she commanded, watching as a wing of fusion-powered battlecruisers performed the same cavalry tactics that had conquered the ancient world. Hannibal Squadron. Prepare for the double envelopment. The Galactic Council representatives, who had arrived to witness the unprecedented defeat of the Corax Empire, stood in stunned silence on their observation vessel. Before them, humanity demonstrated why being the only species that developed technology through constant warfare made them the galaxy's most formidable military force. Signal from the Corax flagship, Lieutenant Mark Reynolds reported. They're requesting terms for surrender. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Put them through on the main display. Let's show them how humanity handles victory. Grand Marshal Vexthor's image appeared, their once proud bearing now tempered by the weight of defeat. We submit to your terms, Earth forces. Never in 200 conquests have we encountered such innovation. Sarah suggested. That's what happens when you fight a species that spent its entire history fighting itself. We've had more combat experience before reaching space than your empire has had in its entire existence. The tactical display showed the remaining Corax ships powering down their weapons, their crews struggling to process their first defeat in centuries. Earth's forces maintained their positions, professional discipline masking their triumph. Colonel Reynolds called out, incoming transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Stone is implementing Phase Omega. Sarah nodded. This was the moment they'd prepared for since discovering the first alien ship. Not just defending Earth, but reshaping the galaxy's balance of power. Attention all forces, she broadcast. Operation Legacy is now in effect. Deploy the diplomatic packets. Across the galaxy, Earth's hidden quantum communication network activated. Every world threatened by the Corax Empire received the same message. An offer of military alliance with Earth, including access to their unique combat doctrine and hybrid technologies. The Galactic Council's observation ship erupted in chaos as the implications became clear. Earth wasn't just defeating the Corax, they were fundamentally changing the power structure of known space. Your species, one council member transmitted, their translator struggling to convey their mix of awe and concern. You planned this from the beginning. The defense of Earth wasn't your only objective. Of course not, Sarah replied. Humanity has never believed in simply defending. We understand that the best defense is a strong network of allies. We're offering protection to every world the Corax threatened. On the tactical displays, hundreds of confirmation signals began appearing as threatened worlds accepted Earth's offer. The Corax Empire's former victims were rapidly becoming part of humanity's new defensive alliance. Remarkable, the consul whispered. You've accomplished more in one battle than the Council has in centuries of negotiation. Lieutenant Reynolds straightened at his station. Colonel, the first diplomatic responses are coming in. 37 worlds have already accepted our offer of military assistance. The Galactic Council is requesting an emergency session. Sarah turned to face the Council representatives. Humanity spent thousands of years learning the hard way that true peace comes from strength and unity. We're not interested in building an empire. We're creating a shield for those who need protection. The Orcs Grand Marshal, still on the display, clicked in resignation. We thought we were the superior force in the galaxy. We never imagined. That's been the problem all along. Sarah interrupted. No one imagined what humanity could do. We've spent our entire history preparing for this moment, even when we didn't know it was coming. As the surrender proceedings began, Sarah sent one final message to Earth Command. Operation Safeguard complete. The galaxy now understands. Earth isn't just another world to protect. We're the protectors they never knew they needed. Consul X-427 stood before the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber, their crystalline form reflecting the light from 1,000 worlds' representatives. The emergency session had been called to address what many were calling the most significant shift in galactic power since the formation of the Council itself. Honorable Council, they began, their translator carefully modulating their clicks to convey the gravity of the situation. I stand before you to submit my final report on Earth. I must confess that my initial assessment was not just incorrect. It was precisely backward. The chamber's holographic displays activated, showing footage from the battle that had changed everything. Earth ships danced through space in patterns that defied conventional military doctrine, while quantum weapons reshaped the very fabric of reality. When I first arrived at Earth, I sought to protect them from war, X-427 continued. I failed to understand that war had already shaped them into something unique in our galaxy, a species that turned its greatest weakness into its most formidable strength. The newly appointed Earth ambassador, retired General William Bill Harrison, sat calmly in the diplomatic section. Beside him, his granddaughter Madison played with what appeared to be a toy, though the consul now recognized it as a quantum physics simulator more advanced than most civilian technology in the galaxy. In the 3 standard months since the Orcs' defeat, X-427 reported, Earth has established defensive pacts with 72 formerly threatened worlds. Their military advisors have begun training programs that combine their combat doctrine with local technologies. They call it the Guardian Initiative. The council chamber erupted in concerned murmurs. A representative from the Mechanoid Collective rose to speak. Are we not concerned about concentrating such military power in the hands of a single species? Ambassador Harrison stood, his weathered face showing both wisdom and amusement. If I may address that concern. At the Council's acknowledgement, he continued, humanity has learned through bitter experience that power concentrated in any single group leads to corruption. That's why we're not building an empire. We're creating a network of equals. Each world maintains its sovereignty while contributing to mutual defense. The Council activated their next display, showing Earth's rapid integration of alien technologies. Their approach to technology mirrors their approach to warfare. They don't simply use what they find. They understand it, improve it, and combine it in ways we never imagined possible. Their children play with concepts our scientists struggle to grasp. Madison looked up from her toy, which was currently modeling 11-dimensional spacetime interactions. Grandpa, is the funny crystal person talking about my physics homework? The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. What other species assigned quantum mechanics as childhood education? But perhaps most remarkably, the consul continued, is their concept of victory. When offered the chance to dominate, they chose to protect. Their military doctrine, refined through millennia of internal conflict, is now being used to prevent wars rather than start them. The display showed Earth's growing influence. Training centers where human veterans taught advanced combat techniques, research facilities where human scientists collaborated with alien engineers, and diplomatic missions, where human negotiators helped resolve conflicts that had festered for centuries. My final recommendation to this council is this: establish permanent diplomatic relations with Earth, not as a primitive world to be protected, but as a foundational ally in maintaining galactic peace. Their history of warfare has given them insights into conflict resolution that our peaceful societies never developed. Ambassador Harrison stood again, this time with Madison beside him. Earth stands ready to help forge a new era of galactic security. We've spent thousands of years learning the hardest lessons about war and peace. Now we can put those lessons to use protecting others. The Consul concluded their report with words that would be recorded in galactic histories for generations to come. I arrived at Earth believing they needed our protection from war. I now understand that the galaxy needed Earth to teach us about peace, through strength, through unity, and through the wisdom that can only come from overcoming our own violent nature. They are not the primitive species we assumed them to be. They are the guardians we never knew we needed.